Welcome back, Retro Motion fans. It's your host, Da Vinci's, back with another episode of Up and Coming. I apologize for the short delay. We were trying to get my buddy Max in here. He's in here. How you doing today, man?
I went to school in Los Angeles. No, okay, cool. And I joined a fraternity, which I think surprises people, because I, like, all the time.
I am as electric as I've ever been. This is a great day. I'm really happy to be finally doing this.
Dude, I'm glad that you're doing this. We met in Indianapolis, for you guys don't know, 2 weeks ago during a 2K League event, esports event. And this guy right here is dancing and telling jokes. And at the last day of the event, I'm talking to him. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm a comedian. So I go, do you want to be on my podcast? And he's like, yeah, sure. So here we are.
Here we are. We did it. We made it.
We made it. Later. 2 weeks later, you're my first comedian on the show.
Oh, who do you usually have?
I usually have rappers, artists, film directors, actors, just all over the world, just all over the spectrum, just to kind of figure out people who want to break out into the industry. So you're our first comedian.
It's an honor. I hope I bring the heat.
Bring the heat, man. Tell us who you are. You're in a nut van, so you're already bringing the nut.
Yeah, we're bringing the nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
Talk about that in a little bit. Yeah.
It's an interesting concept that you're doing right now. But anyways, tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Max Zavidow, but I also go by formerteenheartthrob. That's like my name on all social medias. And sometimes people will ask why I chose that formerteenheartthrob. It's because when I was in high school, like when I was growing up, I was really hot, right? So I was like a teen heartthrob, but like I'm still really hot, but I'm not a teenager anymore. So I'm a former teen heartthrob.
Got you.
Yeah. So I'm a comedian. I'm a TikToker. I am a writer, and I kind of got into all of it when I was in college. It was like it was always a dream of mine to be a comedian, but I was like, that's not for me. Like, you got to go get a job in investment banking. And so I did. And I just I knew in my heart that that's not where I was supposed to be. Because in college, all my friends were a year older than me, right? So when I got back to school for my senior year, all my friends had graduated. And you know how, you'll tell yourself like, oh, if I had the time, I would do this, if I only had the time, I would do X, Y, Z. For me, that was comedy. That was stand-up. And so all my friends were gone. And I was like, all right, now what's your excuse? So I just signed up for an open mic. I went and I had some fun, kept doing it. Sometimes it's not fun, but that's part of the stand-up journey. And then I moved to New York and I stopped doing comedy completely, right? And I started my job in investment banking. I was like, it's time to grow up. You got to pay off your student loans. And so I went to investment banking and I paid off my student loans. And then I was like, okay, now there's nothing tying you here anymore. What do you want to do? Like, you can do anything in the world you want. You don't owe anybody any money. You can just go, you can do nothing. But like, what do you want to do? And I didn't know. It wasn't like, I didn't have the confidence to go be a comedian, because that's like a big thing to quit your job in investment banking and go do this stuff. And what happened was I was on this deal, right, while I was working at Bank of America, and we were just getting crushed. We didn't go to bed before 3 a.m. any night for 3 weeks straight. For 3 weeks straight, it was crazy. And as we were getting to the end of the project, I found out that my favorite comedian in the world was doing a show in New York at a really intimate venue. And my friend was producing the show, and she said, you have to come. This is your favorite comedian. I was like, I can't. This project is so busy, because you're so in that world. You're like, I can't go. And then I took a second. I was like, wait, this is your favorite comedian in the world? There's going to be like 40 people there.
Who was it?
Gary Goldman.
Okay.
He's the greatest wordsmith of all time. He's brilliant. And so I wanted to go to the show, but I didn't know how to tell my team that I was going to leave to go watch my favorite comedian, because everyone's getting crushed on this project, right? So I gotta bullshit. And I'm like, all right, guys, craziest thing happened. My cousin just flew in from Israel to surprise our family. And he's only in town for one night because tomorrow he's going to Washington, D.C. to visit his grandparents. Yeah. And they were like, I don't know, we're really busy. And I was like, no, come on, he's here for like one night. And they were like, all right, fine, go. But the the show was like deep in Brooklyn. It was like an hour away from me. So I told my team, yeah. So not only did I need an hour for the show, I needed an hour to get there and get back.
Yeah.
I told them that the restaurant that I was going to, because my cousin's from Israel, I was like, we're going to go to a kosher restaurant. All the best kosher restaurants are in Brooklyn, so we're going to be a while.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, all right, fine. And so I go to the show with my roommate. I actually live with my roommate because of this comedian. Like we had a mutual respect for each other because we knew who this guy was and like really respected his work. And it ended up where after the show, me and my roommate went to hi to him, and we like told him that we like lived together because of him. And he was really touched by the story, and he gave us his number and he invited us to lunch with him. And when so we got lunch with him, and it just made me realize how amazing life can be when you are honest about what you care about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, well, I don't like doing this with my day. I don't like doing this with my night. We were working like all the time. I was like, what are the two things I love? I was like, well, I love the NBA and I love comedy. And I was like, is there a way that I can do both of those things every single day? And the answer was just got to get a job at the NBA and then do comedy at night. And eventually, it took a while to find that job. That's the bumpy roads of New York.
Yeah, I can see that. The screen is just like, but it's all good. We're just glad you're here. We're glad you're here. But go on, continue.
So I decided I wanted to do that, and I started doing comedy in New York. And eventually, I found the job at the NBA. I was able to quit and just rip basketball during the day at the 2K League, and then at night do stand-up comedy. And then, things were moving like okay in stand-up, and then in 2022, I was like, all right, you're going to make a TikTok. You're going to post every day for a year. You're going to do it. And I started posting, and it wasn't going that well. For like the first 2 months, like I probably had like 2,000 likes or whatever, like across all my videos. Like every video got like 5 likes. And then I met these guys who I'm actually in the Peanut Mobile with right here. These are it's my comedy group.
I was wondering who the hell are the people in your TikToks. I'm like, how does he get all these people in these TikToks out of just nowhere every day? But those are.
So my comedy group is 3 guys.
Okay.
We're called the New Money Uglies, and we but those big groups of people. Those are just like the comedians that I know from doing stand up. You just you hit them up, like they're always just excited to do something silly. Like that's like why we all wake up in the morning. We just want to be silly and tell our piece and just kind of do our thing. And so I just hit them up, and they're always so down, and the videos are so fun to do with them. The group videos that we do usually do really, those typically do really well.
You're doing good on TikTok, by the way. Like your TikToks pop up on my stuff, and I watch them, and they always make me laugh. Especially the conversations with your ex.
Thank you. Yeah, those
are funny.
So that came from an idea because I dated 2 girls in a row, and right after we broke up, both of them came out as lesbians, and I was like, I wonder if it's me. And I was like, what would sorry about that. Anyway, I was saying the conversation with the ex. And so because we're really good friends, I hit her up and I was like, hey, like, can I interview you? And she was like, sure. And so I did one, and it was like, the first one didn't even do well, but I was like, I think this is a good idea. Like, I actually think this is like a really funny idea. So I kept doing them. And I'm actually going to be starting something soon, which is, I only have so many exes. I've got a few more conversations with an ex lined up, but I'm going to start conversations with a crush, which is where I reach out to people from like middle school and high school that I had a crush on that like, we never got together, but like maybe I asked them out and they didn't want to date me, but like we were friends, like whatever it was. Like, so I actually interviewed my first person, and we're gonna meet up and like, I always like do like a pre-screen where we like talk about the relationship, and then, so when we get to camera, we can like, there's a more fluent flow. But with the crush, it's a girl that I asked out in high school, junior year, and she said no.
Damn.
And so I hit her up and I was like, hey, I started doing this thing, and I want to switch it up a little bit and do conversation with a crush and interview the people that were not interested in me. And so I had like the pre-call with her a couple days ago. First time I spoke to her in 7 years. And it was crazy. What was so amazing about the conversation, I think you'll see this when the video gets posted, is that moment when I asked her out, the relationship that we had, it was so impactful to me. It was so meaningful. It changed the way that I see things in a lot of ways. And to her, it meant nothing. I was just a guy in her class. To me, I blame that on watching too many romantic comedies. But yeah, it was really cool to talk to her again. And I'm also, I'm gonna see where I can expand the conversation series and see where it goes. But
I'm
they're a lot
excited
of
to
fun
see
too.
that. I'm excited to see that. When did comedy start for you? Like, when did you know that you like? When was was it an early stage? Was it something like in middle school, high school, or recent? When did comedy? When did you like? This is what I want to do.
So I think in my heart, it was always what I wanted to do,
Mhm.
But like when I was in middle school, like I was just watching so much stand up comedy. I was writing jokes in a notebook. One summer, my mom sent me to a stand up comedy camp. And then
Really?
I got to high school and like yeah, and then I went to high school and I just never did it in high school because I don't know, there was just nowhere to do it in like suburban New Jersey, so it wasn't even a thought that it was something I could do.
Mhm.
And then but I always I loved like that. The most important thing to me is being funny, like getting up and being silly. Like that's why I get up in the morning, like to laugh with people. It's the greatest thing in the world. And so it's important that I do it every day. And I went to college and I was like, okay, like you have to get like a big boy job. And so I did, but in my heart, like I knew where I wanted to be. And then when I was a year into my investment banking job, the idea of autonomy was presented to me, the idea of autonomy in the sense that you can do whatever you want.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, okay, well, what do I want to do? And then I was looking at my life and I was like, the life that I have, it's a lot of things that I feel like I should be doing,
Mhm.
Like I feel like, and I was like, I don't want to live my life by the guidelines of should. I want to live my life by the guidelines of want, because like to me, there's three kinds of happiness. There's there's relief, there's
Mhm.
ecstasy, and there's
Mhm.
peace. And I
Okay.
felt like the kinds of happiness that I had in my life were only provided by relief. And to me, of all the kinds of happiness, that's the one that is not based on like success, like striving for success. It's based on avoiding failure. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like
that
you
makes sense.
feel relief. Yeah, like I feel relief when when I got my job that I didn't really want in investment banking. I felt relief because I was like, okay, like you didn't fail. But then I started thinking about life in terms of like, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to strive for? Like, what is success to you? And that's when I started orienting my life around the things that I wanted, like working in basketball and doing comedy. So that's kind of like how I got back into comedy. But it was always something on my mind.
Do you have like a? I know you have a certain style, but I was trying to figure you out. You kind of like your sense for me, and I don't want to put you in a box. You could correct
Yeah,
me if I'm wrong. Mhm.
definitely a lot of stuff about like sex and sexuality, and I feel like my style of comedy is just like I hope that it's just really fun. Like as if I'm having fun,
I
if I'm
can't hear
making
you.
funny stuff.
They're singing. I can't.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Is this better?
Yeah, a little
Okay.
bit.
So, sorry. Hold on. 1 second. Sorry. Saves me.
And now you had to join in the fun too. But yeah,
Okay.
if you do that, I can hear you a little bit better.
Okay. Hold on, wait. Okay. All right. So I think my style would definitely be like super high energy. Like just like the way one of my comedy partners describes it is like we are going to hell and we're gonna drag you with us. Like you're
Okay.
coming with us you're coming along for the ride. And it's just like it's fast, it's high energy, it's goofy. I think that's how I would describe it.
Mhm. I mean, I like it. I mean, apparently people on TikTok like it as well.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was telling Autumn yesterday, my sister, I was
Yeah.
like, guess who I'm having on the show? Well, this was yesterday when I went up to Atlanta, and she was like, who? And I was like, Max. And she's like, oh my God, he's so funny. I'm like, because she has you on TikTok as well. And it's like, I watch all this stuff. He's really funny. So if you make us laugh, man, I know that you're pretty funny out in New York. What do you want to? I asked you this when we were in Indianapolis, but I want to ask you this in person. Well, not in person, but virtually. Where do you see yourself with your comedy? Like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with it?
I think one is just like, to me the priority is like have fun, like keep just ripping, but also that's the artistic side of it, but there's also the business side of it where you want to make it a career, right? And so for me the career part of it is like I would love to be able to tour as a stand-up comedian, go around the country, tell my jokes. That's one thing I'd love to do. I really want to. Do you know who Gerard Carmichael is?
No, I will
So
look him up.
He's a comedian, and he's one. I think he's amazing. He's not necessarily my favorite comedian, but the style of comedy that he does is the style that I want to do, where you basically tell one grand story over the course of like 40 minutes, an hour, and then, but the whole time you're like weaving in other stories and you're telling jokes, and that to me is like the comedy I want to do. And then the other piece is I really want to have a TV show with my friends. We have this idea and we're trying to bring it around. We've seen a little bit of traction with it, but you know we're just working on getting that made, and again just like going to hell and dragging people with us. That's what we want to do.
Well, since you're dragging people to hell with you guys, thank you. I thank you for that analogy. What's the hardest part about being a comedian?
The hardest part about being a comedian, I think the hardest part is to not get discouraged. Because you know, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're doing stand-up, whether you're going into meetings to pitch ideas, you see such a great number of rejection. Like my last few TikToks flops, you know. Like I'll go to Mike sometimes, I'll do shows and I won't do well. But it's just the consistency. You get up no matter how you did the last time. Like no matter if you struck out, if you took the biggest whiff, you get up and you swing for the fence, and you swing for the fence every single day. To me, that's the hardest part, but I think that's what separates comedians. And I hope over time, you know, to find myself on the side of people that every day for years at a time just get up and swing.
I like that. I really do. That makes me feel good to know like that doesn't just apply on being a comedian. That applies to be a content creator, anything that you want to do. I really like that you said that. How long do you spend on writing jokes or your material?
So it depends in terms of, you know, like if I would say like when I was doing stand up, I would like write a little bit in the mornings and then go test out my jokes at night and then come home at night and retool them. But a lot of my time is definitely spent on TikTok now. And so like in the mornings I write, which is definitely, I used to run a lot. I don't get to run as much, which I'm trying to figure out a way to balance it all. But I write in the mornings, I film in the mornings. And then I also, after work every single day, I meet up with my friends and we write or we film. I would say we're together like 6 days a week, writing and filming. Again, it just goes back to like shooting. But like, yeah, we do some combination of it every day, but like, it's a lot about like having ideas and just like taking my ideas to them, and together we make them so much stronger.
Do you think that TikTok is helping you shape your jokes or your comedy a little bit more? Because you're starting up, so you're probably let's say 50 to 100 people. I'm just guesstimating because it's New York, but versus you put your stuff out on TikTok, you know thousands of people are going to see it. So you're kind of just testing the waters to seeing, is that helping you, you know, figure out, tweak your jokes and your material?
Yeah, I think more so than helping me tweak my jokes. It's because like stand-up it's such a different medium than like I feel like I can do I can do my stand-up and like do it on TikTok, but I can't do my TikTok stuff largely on stage as like stand-up. But what TikTok has helped me do is like my greatest fear as a creator, and maybe this is something you also feel, is like running out of ideas. You know,
yes.
I have a really good idea. It's a huge fear, and that was always a great fear of mine. But having a team around me of guys that I do stuff with every day, that goes such a long way in terms of alleviating the fear. Because the first time that I had anything go even slightly viral, it maybe got like 15, 20,000 views. It was like me just like saying my stuff into the camera, my stand-up. And then I was worried because I was like, I'm going to run out of jokes. At some point, I'm like, you know, I only have so many jokes. And then my friend, he gave me an idea. He was like, you should do this. And then that led to another thing, which led to another thing, which led to another thing. And it just, I think what I was nervous of is that, you know, I would keep digging and there would be nothing underneath, you know. You're digging a hole and at a certain point, there's nowhere to go. But with the team around me, Jack, Kane, Ryan, the Uglies, we just keep digging and we keep finding things. And I'm not worried about running out of stuff. If I do run out of stuff, maybe I'll take a second to recalibrate. But with them, we dig together, and it's the greatest inspiration for me.
Well, I know you're in the mobile peanut, mobile nut, and you're traveling through what part of New York are you in?
We are very close to Central Park.
So you're in New York City.
Say what's up, guys! Peanuts! Woo!
You can't. I told you this the first time I met you. You can't take you out anywhere. No. I can't even take you out virtually.
No, you are.
I can't take you out virtually.
Not at all.
I want to ask you just a few more questions because I know you're in a traveling peanut, and I know you got you got things to do. But I want to ask you, what do you have lined up now? Do you have any tours? Do you have any any venues booked? Like, where can we see your next? If people who are in New York and they see this, where can they see you next?
Yeah, so if you're in New York and you're seeing this, I'm actually producing a show this Friday with my two buddies. We're going to do like long sets of stand-up in Brooklyn. Hit me up for the details if you're seeing this. formerteenheartthrob on Instagram. So I do shows around New York. I always post my shows on my Instagram story.
Let me ask you 3 quick questions before we go. First question. You have a cool job. You actually work for the NBA 2K League. That's where I met you. How did you find that job? And I don't remember. I know you told me what you did, but I don't remember. So tell me what you do over there again, and how'd you get that job?
Yeah, so when I was working as an intern at an investment bank called Rothschild, it was not fun at all. But they were showing us they had a lunch and learn where they showed us what people did after they worked at Rothschild. And one of the logos on the page was the NBA. And I was like, I didn't even know people worked at the NBA. I was like, what the hell? So I reached out, I didn't reach out immediately. I was like, okay, interesting. Somebody worked at Rothschild and worked at the NBA. And so when I started my full-time job at a different company, I was looking for a new job, getting ready to look for a new job. I was like, okay, how many people could have possibly worked at Rothschild and the NBA? I can find this person. And so I just looked her up on Google, and her name popped up. Her name was Kathleen, and she just put me in contact with the right people. And it was just a matter of just finding Kathleen and shooting her a message, and she was so helpful. Put me in touch with my current boss.
What do you do? What do you do over there?
So I work in strategy and operations.
Got you.
So I work. I have the best boss in the world. If he sees this, Alan is amazing. I love working with him. He really understands what I'm doing, and he's super supportive of comedy. Before I took the job, I was like, hey, I want to kill this job for you, from 9 to 5, and then I got to go run and do my stuff at night. And he was like, no problem, get after it. And so I
love bosses like that.
Yeah, it's changed my life. It really has, and I try and tell him as much as I can.
Can you? So for the folks who are seeing this now, and like I said, putting this on YouTube soon, and I'll send you the link. But for the folks who are seeing this, wherever they're seeing this, and they're like, I've always wanted to do comedy, or I was just too nervous, and maybe my jokes will bomb, or maybe the audience won't respond to it, or maybe I got stage fright, or I wanted to work for for an esports company like NBA 2K League. What's some motivation that you give folks from your journey, and they could just go do it?
I would say not just comedy or esports. It's whatever is fun to you. Think about how you can do it. First of all, just start doing it. And you'll make friends who can kind of guide you in the right direction. And it becomes more fun because you're doing it with your friends instead of just doing it because you like it. I think my motivation, it's just to have fun. And don't be afraid to bomb because someone said this on TikTok. It's not a flop era. It's just one flop. And sometimes your greatest flops come before your biggest hits. So get out there and flop because it just brings you one step closer.
Well, the last thing that I want to ask, because you literally, you killed the whole interview. I was excited to do this, man. I can't wait to come back to Indianapolis and see you again, bro.
Yeah,
I'm excited to come back, man. And this was awesome. I'm glad that you took the time to do this for me. Hopefully I could get some. Of course, and I hope I can get some more comedians on here.
Yeah.
But who's your Mount Rushmore comedians? Before we end it, who's your Mount Rushmore?
Okay. My hero, Gary Goldman.
Okay.
Mike Birbiglia, Daniel Sloss,
Okay.
and John Mulaney.
I don't know any of those guys.
Sorry. Sorry. I think John Mulaney is the most well-known out of the group.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't know those guys, but it's okay. Oh, look, before we go, on all your videos, you have the New York glitter hat.
Yes.
What's the deal with the hat? I got to know before I go.
Yes. So we were pitching a company on an idea of ours, and we bumped into a famous comedian the day before, and we were like, oh my God, like we're pitching someone tomorrow, like what should we do? Like, and they were like, you know what, it doesn't even matter what you're going to talk about, just make them laugh. And so we're like, all right, how do we make them laugh? So we show up to this business meeting, like to pitch our idea, in like full suits and these hats. We bought the hats the night before, and it just cracked them immediately. And then that night we made a video that went like bananas, and we were like, all right, let's just keep wearing it. And that it's like, this is part of our brand now for sure.
I love it. I love the hat, man. And keep doing your thing, man. You're inspiration to me. Hopefully, my TikTok will start, popping off, and you keep doing your thing, and I'll be looking out for you.
Awesome.
Guys, if you like what you saw, make sure you hit Max up on Instagram or TikTok. And I'll have this on YouTube, on my new YouTube channel. That's the Up and Coming Podcast. I have the link in the chat, so make sure you guys click on that. And we'll be back next week. So see you guys soon.